Hi everyone, welcome to today's card creation for the Craftie Cafe online design store here in Australia. We're going to be using an array of lawn fawn products. I won't be using actually all of these items, just a handful. This process just was one that kind of just unfolded. I knew what I wanted to use, which was some lawn fawn products, this Meow You Doing stamp set, some Ken Oliver burst, colour bursts, and the texture transparent matte paste. I'll be showing you a card set today. So I love these colour bursts. I love how highly pigmented they are. I love how the vibrancy and the intensity of these colours. So I'll be creating 3 cards. They are quick cards. I do speed up the process a little bit so you don't get too bored. But this first one here, we'll be using the colour violet, and I pretty much just tapped so lightly and then spritz with my Ranger Distress spritzer, and I just by adding that water it just is like this wow effect. Now I heat from the top as also from the bottom, and this next color I'm going to be using ultramarine blue. Again, it's like I sprayed the color on. This powder is so highly pigmented, I hardly put any on, but you can see how impactful this color is, and these colors are. This one here is, now I don't know how to say that, but it's PH phthalo green. You guys can tell me how to say it, I suppose. And now once I have dried that off to the best I can, it was probably only 90% dry, to be honest, so I do pick up some of that extra colour burst and that pigment on my hand. I grab a spatula, I pick up some texture paste, and this one here is transparent. It's not opaque, so it just becomes more this glossy type of mixed media grid texture once it dries. It comes off a little bit opaque, but it's actually dries quite clear when it's thoroughly dried. So I do that for all the 3 panels. And once I've done that, now I washi taped my panel on, but not the stencil. My plan wasn't to put a layer throughout the whole card panel, just throughout that heavy pigmented area. So I set those aside. I actually do set aside that for an hour and a half. And then I worked on the other little bits and pieces. I went and had lunch with my family. Then I came back and it was transparent. Now, probably could have left it for another half an hour, to be honest. As you'll see later on in the video, I wear it a little bit on my hands. It's just how it is. The colour bursts, they're quite vibrant. So it wasn't 100% dry. Highly recommend that you make sure it's dry first before continuing to craft, because it did get onto my white cardstock base. Now, using the Happy out of that stamp set, then I use the Meow You Doing stamp set, and I do cut the sentiment. I'm sorry, this may traumatize some of you. It was initially hard for me to get over this surgical procedure with my stamps, but once I became okay with it, I was good. Now, moving on, using white cardstock, die cutting with Versamite Onyx Black ink, stamping the Happy, then die cutting that out with the coordinating dies, stamping these little Purrthday sentiments with Lawn Fawn Fundamental Premium Die Inks, Noble Fur, Fish Tank, and Juice Box. I have got their Hero Arts cleaner, stamp cleaner, that I've sprayed on my cloth just to the side there. So in between each stamp, I just clean it off to the side there. And that's all I do. It's a dye ink. It come off really good on these polymer stamp sets, so I had no trouble with cross contamination of colors and transferring of inks. Just giving a little bit of haircut these strips, and then I'm going to, you can see how it's become transparent, but you can see that texture still a little bit wet. I picked some up on my fingers, but that's okay. Now, using this rectangle cross-stitched dies, I've chosen the larger out of the small set. They have 2 sets, one large set, one small set. This is the smaller set, and I used the larger version, the largest rectangle die. I'm going to mat these on black cardstock, which works out to be 1/4 inch bigger, and it creates that little almost 3/8 of a border throughout that whole card panel. You can see I had blue on my finger. I got it on that white top folding card panel. But nevertheless, I realized, yep, gonna go wash my hands, and then I come back really quickly and finish the rest of the cards off. I am now more conscious of every time I touch the panel, because they're not 100% dry. I do check my fingers regularly in between, and you can see me waving them about going, am I good? Am I good? Can I make it last? If I do feel like at any stage I needed to wash them, I just went ahead and washed them. Now I'm placing these all on the top white folding panel card bases. And here they are coming together. They don't take long to make three cards, a nice card set. It was not hard at all. The only time was to walk away from that color burst panels, just to let it dry naturally. I already had dried it as much as I could, but it really needed to get that texture paste dry. And I just good excuse to hang out with the family. Okay, now cross stitch circles from Lawn Fawn. What I've done is using that same 3 ink pads and that same stamp set, Meow You Doing. They have about 4 or 5 cat images from there. So what I've done is I've just randomly stamped on this circle die cut the cats according to each color. So blue color scheme is going to go with blue, green, purple. And though that stamp set had little elements in there like paw prints, a bone, a fish bone, things like that. So I've just picked up one element for each cat and each ink, and I've just kept it with that. So this juice box, haven't played with this ink pad very often, but I absolutely love how vibrant these Lawn Fawn inks, these dye inks are. I'm so glad I've got them in my stash, and it's great for vibrancy and really impacting colors. Now here's the fishbone. So this cat's looks like it's napping, and then using the fishbone, putting that away. Last stamp set is just the cat standing up or sitting up, and I'm going to use it with the mouse. Now the mouse tail is a little bit long, so what I've done is every now and then I've got like this piece of white cardstock to help mask so the tail doesn't run into the cats. I figured here, this is the point where I figured, oh, that tail's a bit long, so I just mask a little bit by using a scrap piece of cardstock and finishing it off. Now I heavily put Express It foam mount tape squares on here because these are really tacky foam mounts, which is great, and because of that texture paste I really wanted to make sure it was adhered down. Now I die cut with that Happy die 3 black cardstock die cuts, only because I really needed that happy sentiment to stand out that little bit more. So what I've done is I've slightly offset it to create that shadow, so you can see that sentiment pop up a little bit more. And to even pop up a little bit more, I'm going to use the square mount tape, the square mounts, and I actually just cut them in halves and then place that behind the sentiments. Then I do the same for the add-on sentiment, the Purrthday, Happy Purrthday. And so these cards now just come along really quickly together. You can see them. Wasn't hard at all. Really fun, really awesome to play with the colour bursts. I had to dust them off a little bit because I hadn't played with them for a while, but I just love them. Absolutely love them. So there you go, my trio of cards, my card set for you. I hope you enjoyed today's card creation, and I will show you up close videos of them all. Thanks for watching. Take care.